Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time here at Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, here at the Fifth Dimension Radio Studios. And you know what that means, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. 10 Cent Beer Night, the official sports show of FifthDimensionRadio.com. We're filming here on Monday, the 24th, for Wednesday, the 26th. And let me start things off by wishing you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving Day and Thanksgiving weekend as we look forward to all the fun in around our nation this weekend. It being Wednesday night, one of the biggest drinking nights in the calendar year. So be safe if you're going out. Be responsible, but have your fun. Definitely, it's supposed to be enjoyable weekend for everybody as we recognize what we're thankful for. And I will start things off by saying I am thankful for you, the listeners, because we're getting more and more numbers from the past couple months, especially with all the high school football game action we had. And they are very impressive, and I mean, we are getting a lot of recognition, people giving us their time to listen to the programs on here, not just our show, but the others, so we are very thankful for that, we really are. It will be just me today. Co-host Bob is tired after a successful procedure. I just talked to him this morning, and he is doing well. He's just tired. He needs to rest. Doctors say he needs to be in bed the next couple of days before Thanksgiving, when all his family chaos starts. So we are wishing Bob a very, very safe, healthy week this week as he is not with us, so he can just relax and let his body rest up after everything he's been through this morning. But I talked to him, and the one thing we are also thankful for, what a weekend. What a week for our teams. Let's break it down. Akron football wins their last game at Bowling Green. Ohio State football won against Rutgers. Akron basketball is in the championship at the Virgin Island tournament. Okay, they're going to play that game tonight. We'll get to that in a little bit. Ohio State basketball also winners this past week. Cavs went 2-1, including beating the Clippers on Sunday night. And then, of course, the big one that we're all relieved about, Shedeur Sanders is the first Browns rookie quarterback to win his debut game since 1995 was the last time a Cleveland Browns quarterback did it. And I'll be honest, I saw the guy's name and I've never heard of him before. I mean, obviously he traveled to Baltimore with the team the next year, but he won in overtime in 1995 under Bill Belichick. That was the last Browns rookie to win their debut. And it gets even more interesting later. We'll break down the Browns game here in a little bit and talk about it. But I will say I gave Shedeur an overall A. Aside from the interception he threw, he had a very, very good first game. He's pretty much, with the defense forced a turnover at one point of the game that set up for points, but Shedeur set them up for the rest of their points. And then this is where it gets interesting. About 9:10 a.m. this morning, Kevin Stefanski at the mic had said, let me go back to a Friday, okay? Dillon Gabriel did practice Friday. He was allowed to practice a minimum of reps and whatnot because it's part of the concussion protocol thing, but because he hadn't been cleared for a certain amount of days, he was not allowed to play according to NFL rule, okay? So he did practice Friday, and Stefanski said that if he cleared concussion protocol, he probably would start the following game, which would be this Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. Then Shedeur Sanders happens. Plays a great game. Overall, things are going very, very well. So at 9:10 a.m. this morning at his early press conference, returning back to Cleveland from Las Vegas, Coach Stefanski said he hadn't decided on who would be the starter. Right before I got on air, people, and I started on air a little bit later than I usually do. It's 1:51 p.m. here where I'm recording, and 52 now. About 5-6 minutes ago, Kevin Stefanski announced Shedeur Sanders is the starting quarterback for this Sunday. So earlier this morning he said he didn't know, and then either he was told you're starting, and because I wouldn't put it past Haslam or Barry to do that, or they just said, look, the guy had a better game. We'll break down the stats and whatnot. Actually, we should probably lead off with that. First, well, before I forget, I do want to give a shout out. I want to congratulate the Bobs, our producer, Bob Fritz. Bob Fritz as well. I mean, Fritz is not a producer, but other Bob is. Fritz, and then our broadcast team for the high school football, they wrapped up their final game this past week as McDonald did beat Mogador. And they had a fun season. They really enjoyed doing it. It was a good look for the station. The kids really liked it, and the alma maters and the kids' parents also very well enjoyed it. So definitely it's in the works for next year as well, but I just want to congratulate them for a successful season, as their last game was this past Sunday here. So it's not Friday, excuse me, not Sunday. I got my football days mixed up, and it's going to get worse this week with Thanksgiving and everything, and how many games there are going to be played and whatnot. But it should be fun. But no, congratulations to the high school football crew here at FifthDimensionRadio.com. We are going to do high school basketball again. It's not going to be as many games, but it's going to be a handful. And we haven't, I guess one game is official to start. We will wait till Fritz announces that on the Fifth Dimension Radio page and the 10 Cent Beer Night page. If he wants to announce earlier, because we still have a couple more shows of the year. This our last one for November right now. And then December starts next week. And, of course, we only have a few in December before we take a holiday break. So if he wants to announce ahead of time, he can. But I'm going to wait till all the details come out. But I did get word that the first game has been scheduled. So for high school basketball broadcast. So good luck to them. Wishing their families a very happy Thanksgiving. And thank all the schools that let us do it, because not all the schools did. Some were not interested, but most of them were very responsive and loved it. And like I said, it was a good look for everybody. So that was awesome there. Going back, let's talk about this Browns game real quick, because we're not going to have enough time to talk about it later when we get to our NFL picks and whatnot, because there's a lot to talk about in that world. Feels good to have another win. 3-8 now. I know that's not sexy. Steelers lost, though. Bengals lost. Was rooting for the Jets to upset the Ravens. They had an overall good game until the Ravens broke out later. And now the Ravens are tied with Pittsburgh for the top spot. Ravens started 1-5, are now 6-5, and tied with Pittsburgh. And yeah, Pittsburgh's falling apart a little bit, which is always good to see. But Cleveland Browns beat the Excuse me, I'm still doing that. The Las Vegas Raiders. Okay. Yesterday there. Browns overall did not have a good record against Pete Carroll, who is now the head coach of the Raiders there. And all kinds of drama started for the Raiders last night after the game. But as we mentioned, Shedeur Sanders wins his first NFL start as a rookie quarterback here. Browns defense had 11 sacks yesterday. The record's 13, 11 sacks. 3 of them were Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett now has 18 sacks. The record is 22.5. 6 games left. He's on track to have 25, maybe a little bit more now, because they had him down for having 2 or 2.5 yesterday, and then he had 3. Defensive line was all over the place. Mind you, they were without Alex Wright, who recently signed a 3-year extension. I do love that move. He has definitely earned it. A absolute powerhouse defensive end. Unfortunately, was hurt yesterday, did not play. But Isaiah McGuire played excellent. The 5th overall pick, Mason Graham, had his best game yet. He did not have a sack, but man, did he help slow down that run game and plug up the middle there, as you know his job is. Mike Hall Jr., the 2nd-round pick out of Ohio State last year, he got a sack. Malik Collins, playing against his former team next week. The veteran had 2 sacks. He's had a great. I mean, I would vouch for him being one of our other Pro Bowlers. I know we're not gonna have a lot of Pro Bowlers this season. You know, Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio is another guy I would say has earned it. But I'd make the case Malik Collins should also be in the conversation. His numbers are also very good this year. But the defensive line unit just absolutely helping out. With the the defensive backs and the linebackers, they are making all the noise yesterday. As a result to the Raiders losing, right after the game, Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator, and you might remember him being the offensive coordinator for the champion Ohio State Buckeyes last year, leaves the Ohio State program because he was offered $6 million a year to be the Raiders offensive coordinator, the highest paid offensive coordinator contract in the history of the NFL. 11 games out, he was fired. After last night's game, Pete Carroll excused him right after the game. Second coordinator for the Raiders to be fired this year, next to the special teams coordinator who was fired back in week 6, I believe. I'm going by memory here. But Chip Kelly fired, and there's suspicion like he could just be headed back to college. Now, where will he go? That's going to be the question. There are some head coach vacancies open. But on the other side of things, here's the bottom line. Brian Hartline, offense coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll talk more about him in a little bit here, especially with the big game this week. He is favored to be one of the next head coach candidates in the NCAA, okay? If he leaves, you could see Chip Kelly come back to Ohio State. I wouldn't rule it out. He did very well at Ohio State. He fits in. I think people hit the nail on the head. This was the third team Chip Kelly was a part of. He used to be head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. He had 2 years in Philly before they fired him, and then he had 1 year in San Francisco before they fired him. He doesn't do well on the pro level. His play calling is great on the college level, and a lot of pro players have issues with him. It's his attitude, the way he presents himself. It just doesn't mesh well with pro athletes, and you get that a lot when you have a successful college coach. And we've seen in basketball too. Just some guys get, some don't. You have Billy Donovan of the Chicago Bulls doing overall pretty well in Chicago. They had a very, very successful tenure at the University of Florida. All right, but he comes up to the pro level, and he got even an extension. The players reacting well. It was a much better experience than when the Cavs hired John Beilein, former coach of the team up north. He comes in and he starts treating the players like they are college players, and that's when former Cavalier Kevin Love had a serious problem with him, and it affected the locker room, and it just doesn't work out sometimes, But something's going on in Vegas down there because Pete Carroll is a good coach, and things are not meshing well. They went out and drafted a high running back in the first round. They went out and got his quarterback in Geno Smith. They had Brock Bowers, one of the promising tight ends, and just things are not moving on that offensive side, that offensive line giving up 11 sacks, and they went and drafted a lot of offensive line this year. So they sent Chip Kelly packing. So I think he's going to go back to the collegiate level there. But it is what it is. But Browns won. Tommy Reeves overall coached a good game. Quinshon Judkins had 2 touchdowns. They used more of that wildcat formation in the red zone, which I'll be honest, I like. It's working. It's one thing if you have to do it all the time. That's where you have a problem. But no, when they got in the red zone, wildcat, because the offense, believe it or not, our offensive line is actually decent in the run game. It's the pass game they're horrible. But the run game, they've been overall pretty solid. Not amazing, but it's like, it does enough. Because Judkins did not have a 100-yard game. He had, I think, 40-some yards. But he had those 2 touchdowns, including, like I said, the Wildcat in the red zone really set those up there. But Shedeur making a couple big plays, including his big 57-yard pass to Isaiah Bond. Very tough play to make. Not just for rookie, for any quarterback. He didn't have his feet set. He was up in the air. He was out of the pocket moving. And even Myles Garrett said watching that live, he didn't even know Isaiah Bond was out there. He thought he was just throwing it just out there to throw it, and when he hit Isaiah Bond, it just blew him away, and he was just saying, I just needed Bond to go down and not fumble the ball, and he did. He went down, it was perfect, and set up for one of their touchdowns there, but what a pro play by Shedeur there. And then his first ever touchdown was to Samuel there, the running back that they drafted out of Tennessee. Let me make sure I got that right. I want to make sure I got that name there for you because it's going. Sampson, excuse me, not Samuel, Dylan Sampson. Okay, and he had a 60-some yard screen pass touchdown to him. Ran it, of course, all the way, and it was big because people were showing. They said there was a play in the Jets game where Dylan Gabriel was. It was a screen to Fannin, and he overshot Fannin way over his head, and Fannin got upset and whatnot. The Sampson touchdown Shedeur threw was the same play in that Jets game that Dylan Gabriel screwed up and threw over Fannin's head. But Shedeur hit him right on. He took off. The offensive linemen were right where they needed to be, and there was a big gap in the defense, and Sampson was off to the races. So it was just to show you that was the second play, including a play we saw in the preseason where Shedeur played it better than Gabriel did, And look, I don't hate Dylan Gabriel. I think hate's a strong word. I didn't like the pick when it happened, but I trusted their process with this. We've seen enough out of Gabriel these next couple games, and we've seen enough out of Shedeur in the 6 quarters he's played. It's time to give Shedeur the ball. He didn't take any unnecessary sacks. He did get sacked once. Which, by the way, offensive line record the past couple games. Oh my gosh, only sacked once. He got rid of the ball quickly. That was my big thing. He took some good chances. He ran out of the pocket when he needed to. He's got some good legs. And as a result, the ball moved down the field better than it did. The one play I will defend him is all week last week, Judy, our top wide receiver there, was acting out in front of the media. He was getting all moody. He was frustrated, and he wants to play a bigger part. He's not getting the ball enough. He ruins one of Shedeur's best plays. Shedeur hits him 30-some yards out, and he's right. He stops. It's like a gallop, and a defensive player knocks the ball out of his hands for a fumble, and the Raiders get the ball back, okay? I don't want to hear it from him this whole next week. That's my biggest criticism to any of the Browns, even over the coaching staff. Judy, if you will have the right to complain when you're showing up. You've dropped too many passes, and you ruined a potential other scoring drive for our rookie quarterback. He hit you right where you needed to be, and you were about to make a big play, and you had the big play. All you had to do was run out of bounds in that situation. I do appreciate him trying to make more out of it, but the stopping was kind of weird, and not like looking around, like having the ball 2 out and not being aware of your surroundings. It was just a bad look. It really was. I don't think he should be complaining the rest of the week until he proves himself, but we'll talk about the Browns. We'll talk about Shedeur's second official start coming up this weekend. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then we're going to talk about the game, the biggest college regular season football game on the season schedule nationwide. You know what I'm talking about. Team Up North versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. More on that. Stay tuned. And welcome back to our second segment of this Thanksgiving edition, 10-cent beer night here on FifthDimensionRadio.com. I'm Seth, and you'll only have me today, no co-host or whatnot, but everybody's so busy getting ready for the special weekend, this holiday weekend, the starting of the festive season, on top of getting ready for bowl games, high school state finals, NFL teams trying to clinch their first berth of the postseason, all that. You're setting up for Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and you're getting your decorations up. I always see some lights up, and of course this week we're going to get slammed with a whole bunch of lights and all kinds of decorations. I think on Saturday during that special game we're about to talk about it in a little bit, we're expected to see some snow, a little bit, not a ton, but some snow on Saturday there. So 'tis the season, But before we get into college football, we got to talk about our Cleveland Cavaliers here. Cool episode that happened. We just got done hosting Mogadore High School playoff games this past week. I was just in Mogadore before I was filming the show. and I was getting some gas at a gas station, and I go to pull out, and lo and behold, believe it, in Mogador, and this is not normal. We're not too close to Cleveland, mind you. The Cleveland Cavaliers merch truck was in Mogador, just driving through. The semi-truck there, big let 'em know sign in the team and whatnot. And I looked up to the driver because it kind of pumped me up a little bit to see it. Again, it never drives to Mogador. I don't even know how he got there. If he was transported to some merch to some malls or whatnot, but it was specifically the Cleveland Cavaliers merch semi-truck. And I looked at him, I kind of gave him the Shedeur Sanders kind of like fist and whatnot, and I started like going, yeah, let him know, kind of like, and he caught on, he started doing it back, it's like, yes, get it all pumped up, because even though like we were doing a Shedeur Sanders type thing, it was towards the Cavs and how well they've been playing, and just to see their own driver get pumped up like that and see fans like that was kind of cool. But team is doing well, 12-6, they're third in the conference. They went 3-1 this past week, beating the Bucks last Monday, 118-106. They did lose to the Rockets on Wednesday night, 104-114. That's just a better team. They got to find a way to beat. Rockets swept the Cavs last year. Yes, in their best year in several years, season-wise. The Rockets were one of the few teams that had just absolute dominance against them. So they've already lost the first one to the Rockets there. Just gotta find a way to beat them. I know they got Kevin Durant now. They got some better pieces off the bench now. They're going to win now direction similar to Cleveland. But just gotta find a way to beat them. They beat the Indiana Pacers Friday night in a cup game, 120-109. Some people might be like, "Oh yeah, revenge for the playoffs," beating the Pacers. Here's where the downside is with that is. Yes, there is a downside to that victory. It's one, of course, the Pacers are a different team than they were last year. They lost some pieces. They also had some injuries and whatnot. I mean, yeah, we want to beat them this year regardless, but the Pacers are now at least last time I checked, after this game. I should say after that game, after the Cavs defeat them, they are 2-14. Yes, they are that bad right now. I don't think they're going to blow it up, though. But here's where my concern happens, okay, for the near future. Not this season, but it could drastically affect and hurt the Cavs long term. Okay, we're talking a decade here. The Pacers, if they have a high pick in the draft, let's say, change that, one of the worst records in the league, which results in them winning the first overall pick in this next coming draft. That could be Darren Peterson. Grew up in Cuyahoga Falls, out of Kansas, absolutely dominating for Kansas right now, okay? Again, the Utah Jazz have said they believe he's the next Donovan Mitchell, all right? 23 points a game right now in college, which is very, very good. That's 23 points a game in college is like 34 or 36 points a game in the pros, to put it in perspective. I mean, that's high scoring in college. A lot of guys don't average points like that. All right, if they get the first overall pick and select him, you're having a Darren Peterson and Tyrese Haliburton healthy backcourt for the next 10 years would be a problem. That would be a serious problem to go up against day in and day out for the next. It'd be about the next 10 years or so. I would think they would try to keep them together. So that part I don't like. I like beating them. I like seeing their downfall means an increased chances for the Cavs to win the East, but at the same time, the Pacers could bounce right back into it next year with a new lottery pick there. Go to Sunday, last night's game, 120-105. They beat the Clippers and they looked good. We had Friendsgiving last night. With the people I watched football with. After the Browns had won, we had the Cavs on the big TV, and they played good. James Harden is having an incredible year with the Clippers so far. I know it's early, but he's playing very, very well. He had 55 points the previous game before the Cavs. Okay? He had 25 points, which is not a bad game by any means, but they had no answers for the Cavs defense and offense, both sides of the court. Cavs beat them 120 to 105, like I said. Donovan Mitchell had 37 points in that. He also had, because this was a great game for him, 8 rebounds and 6 assists there. Darius Garland played his second consecutive game there, which was good for the Cavs there. Jared Allen's missed the past couple games, but Evan Mobley's done very well under center, filling in for him. This week's games, they got 3. Monday, which you'll know the result of by the time you hear this, but they'll be at Toronto on Peacock and FanDuel. Toronto, they're 0-2. Find a way to beat this team, okay? You just got to do it, okay? Friday, they're at Atlanta, 7:30 p.m. That'll be Friday, November 28th, Black Friday there. So Hawks had their number last year. They got to find a way to beat the Hawks. They beat the Hawks earlier this year. They're 1-0 versus the Hawks. Yeah, that was on November 2nd, so they'd be in 117 to 109, find a way to do it again. And then Sunday, at home, 6 p.m. on FanDuel, they play the Boston Celtics. And they're 0-1 against Boston, and that Boston game, if I remember, because Boston has not had a good record this year. They lost by 20 points to Boston in that one, so it's time to come bounce back there. Yeah, if you turn to the stand, Boston's 9-8. Okay, Cavs are 12-6. So Boston's not in a horrible position, but again, both teams are not where they were last year. Where Cavs are still in a solid position right now, but Boston, I mean, one game over 500 at this time of the year is really unheard of for this Boston team the past couple of years and how well they've played. So this is a whole new territory for Boston. So I say try to go at worst 2-1. I would love to see 3-0. I don't think 3-0 is unrealistic, but what scares me more is they're 0-2 against the Raptors, and I do think that they're favorable against Boston at home, where how the team is how both teams are set up, and what I mean by that is with all their injuries and everything. We got Darius Garland back earlier than expected. They're without Jason Tatum. Jared Allen's still got that agging finger injury, but when he's played well, and he could come back anytime. He could come back tonight's game Monday. Again, you'll know the result by the time you hear this, but he's questionable for tonight, so there's always that chance he does come back and play. And it's, by the way, his non-shooting hand is the finger he broke there, and had to have it pinned, casted, whatever you want. Not cast, but yeah. Had to have it dealt with there. So Cavaliers, though, so far so good. We'll take it there. Moving on to college football. While I pull up the standings here for a review in Week 13. Like I said, Akron Zips won this past week. 5 wins this year. As a result, the Akron AD, University of Akron AD, did post an update. He had a meeting with Joe Moorhead last Friday. They are going to move forward with him. Okay, this was his best year at 5 wins and whatnot. He did say they're going to give an assessment of the assistant coach and the roster and make any changes needed necessary. That's going to take them to the next level next year. So Moorhead will be back under as head coach of the Akron Zips. There's the pros and the cons with that. I'll start with the pros. Every year's been better. He started off. He's been the head coach for 4 years. His first 2 years, he won 2 games each. Then he won 4 games. In the third year, in the fourth year, he won 5. Okay, the majority of those wins are MAC wins, so that's always a good thing too. This is the cons I have with him. One, you've heard Bob and I gripe about the grade situation. They weren't good enough to make a bowl game this year, but had they been in bowl eligibility, which they almost were, they would have to challenge the NCAA's ruling of the 1-year suspension because of GP underachieving the GPA requirements. And that is something a coach, no matter what level you're on, can easily avoid and did not avoid. And that was disappointing. On top of that, okay, he got 5 wins this year. He should have had at least 9. Okay, he should have won against Wyoming. He should have won against UAB. He should have won against Miami, Ohio, and he should have won against Kent State. Okay. There was even a case to be made I'll pull it up on their schedule now. There's a case to be made he should have won 10, and that was because there was one game away. They were trying to come back here. Ball State, that's what it was. On October 18th, they lost 28-42. They were coming back, fumbled the kickoff return, and it ruined everything. Ball State ended up putting more points on the board, and everything just fell apart. They were down. It was 35-28. That's what it was. They were about to get the ball back and start a drive to tie the game, and then they fumbled it. So there's a case to me they should have won 10 games this year. They could have been in the MAC championship conversation again because that's suspension. That's not guaranteed. But I mean, we heard for years. I've told Bob, watching this Zips team at times reminds me a lot of watching Shermer, Pettin, and Chudzinski era Browns. It gives me that PTSD. And one of the things we heard all the time is, we're so close, we're almost there. We could have won some many games. Most of our losses were by one score. A loss is a loss at the end of the day, though. Okay, so I'm pulling for. I'm willing to hear out Moorhead for another year, see what he's got going. But losing to an interim coach against Kent State, losing to a later fired coach at UAB. UAB is a mess of a program now. Trent Dilfer, former Browns player, was their coach, fired after 2-4 record a start. He was in his 4th year, I think, with the program. Started again 2-4 with one of those wins being Akron. So that's telling me Akron not only came close, this was a game they should have won. And then on top of it, this past Saturday, one teammate stabbed 2 before the game started. Yes, stabbed, arrested after. Yes, that's how much of a mess this program is. And Akron let a program like that beat them. I don't like that. Wyoming, the defense played so good, that could have been an upset win at home. Just, that everything like that. So I'm cheering for my Zips. I'm hoping the turnaround, because the program was a mess, and you are bringing in more consistency with the same coach, and things are getting better. But again, you're also losing key players, including your top 2 quarterbacks are graduating this year. So they're going to need another quarterback. They're going to need some more guys. But the transfers and the recruiting has gotten better. So I'm hoping they get over the hump next year. But again, there were some things this year I did not like, and this year could have been a magical, special season for the Akron Zips there. Top 25 teams that won, because I only got so much time, but I want to do this real quick, and then I'll hurry up there. Top 25 teams that lost, this past week. Number 22, Missouri lost to number 8, Oklahoma, 17-6. Number 15, USC lost to number 7, Oregon, 42-27. Overall, a good game between the two of them there. Number 23, Houston lost to unranked TCU, 17-14. And then number 16, Georgia Tech lost to Pittsburgh, 42-28. Pittsburgh's now 8-3. I expect them to be a low ranking soon here. Wisconsin beats number 21, Illinois, in Wisconsin, 27-10. So that hurt. So Illinois continues to take the hits despite a solid season there. So there you go. Your MAC games MAC games for week 13. Results. I told you Akron beat Bowling Green 19-16. UMass goes 0-11 after losing to Ohio 42-14. Ohio U's got 7 wins there. Western Michigan beat Northern Illinois 35-19. West Michigan's got 7 wins there. So those are teams that are in the conversation for the MAC championship. Miami of Ohio beats Buffalo 37-20. Miami of Ohio's got 6 wins there. Central Michigan beat Kent State 28-16, and Central Michigan's got 7 wins there. Toledo beat Ball State 38-9. They also have 7 wins. So I mean, this is getting close. Who is going to go to the MAC championship game? And so here's your MAC schedule for this week. Tuesday, you'll know the results by the time you hear this, but Tuesday night's game is 4:30 p.m. on ESPNU. Bowling Green at UMass. Bowling Green is favored there. 7:30 p.m. at ESPN2. Western Michigan at Eastern Michigan. Western Michigan is favored by 7 there. Friday, Black Friday, November 28th at noon on ESPNU. Ohio U at Buffalo. Snow is predicted to be in the forecast. Ohio U favored by 6.5 points. Noon on CBS Sports, Kent State at Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is favored by 4.5 points. I honestly thought Kent would be favored in this one. Dead serious. I'll have Kent winning that one. Saturday, November 29th, noon on ESPN Plus. Toledo at Central Michigan, and Toledo is favored by 10.5. Noon on CBS Sports, Ball State at Miami of Ohio, and Miami of Ohio is favored by 17.5 there. For your Big Ten update for Week 13 games that I did not mention yet, because I already mentioned to you USC and Oregon, and I mentioned you Wisconsin, Illinois. The rest, Rutgers got slaughtered by Ohio State 42-9. Ohio State still the only perfect team in the nation at 11-0. Minnesota at Northwestern, Northwestern won 38-35. Northwestern's got 6 wins now. Iowa beats Michigan State in Iowa 20-17. Iowa has 7 wins now. Team Up North beat Maryland 45-20, and Team Up North now is 9-2. And we'll talk about, hopefully they'll be 9-3 at the end of the week. Penn State beats Nebraska 37-10. I honestly thought Nebraska would win that one. Penn State's 5th win of the season there. Washington did beat UCLA 48-14, and Washington is now 8-3 in that one. So real quick, your rankings, because we only got a couple minutes left. Any new teams here in the rankings? There was a little bit of shuffle in the top 10. Not a lot. Not even much to really even talk about there. Team Up North did raise up to number 15 from 18. That was one of the bigger slides up. Rises, I should say. USC did drop from 16-19 after their loss to Oregon there. Georgia Tech did fall. Actually, this was the biggest fall. They went from 15-23 after the loss. Pittsburgh did make the top 25. They were unranked 32 last week. They're now 24th in the nation. And Southern Mississippi is now 25th in the nation there. Teams that just missed the cut, Arizona State and Navy, with the top 2 vote getters that just missed the cut for the rankings there. So, score Big Ten for this week, okay? Friday, November 28th, noon on CBS. Iowa at Nebraska. So this Black Friday games here. Iowa is favored by 5.5 points there. 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Number 2 Indiana, who's just coming off a day off, will be at Purdue, and Indiana is favored by 28.5 points. Noon on Saturday, November 29th on Fox. The most watched college matchup in the regular season, in college football, I should say, in the nation, on Fox at noon. Number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes in Ann Arbor versus number 18 Team Up North. So that has an update, but they're number 15 now. Ohio State is favored by 10. Let's do it. Let's break the streak, guys. It's time. You know, I think they threw last year's. That's my opinion. But there's no reason to do it to butcher this year's. Time to beat the Team Up North. Julian saying, let's wrap up the Heisman conversations, bring home the victory. Let's have a perfect season. Go to the Big Ten Championship there. 3:30 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Penn State at Rutgers. Penn State fair by 12.5 points. We have to take a break. I'll get you the rest of the scores and everything in a little bit. So when we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the college football schedule for this Thanksgiving weekend, and then we'll talk about our NFL predictions and schedule for this Thanksgiving weekend. That and more. Stay tuned. And welcome back to our last segment of this Thanksgiving edition 10-Cent Beer Night. I'm thankful for all of you. This is Seth. And, of course, this is the sports show 10-Cent Beer Night of Official Sports Show of FifthDimensionRadio.com. Talk about the Big Ten games of this week. I mentioned, of course, the big game on noon this week. We know it, Scarlet and Gray versus Navy and Yellow, or what they say it's blue, but their hearts are black. I don't know. And dark and evil and what no, okay, not literally, but still, just don't forget to cross out your M's this week. I mentioned Penn State and Rutgers. All right, 3:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1, Wisconsin at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored to win by 1.5 points. 3:30 p.m. on CBS and Paramount Plus. Number 7 Oregon at Washington, and Oregon is favored by 6.5 points only. That one could be a good one. Both teams really cannot stand each other. Kind of a little bit of a weird rivalry there. in their previous conference as well. So carrying that over to the Big Ten has just made the Big Ten that much more exciting. 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1, Maryland at Michigan State. And Michigan State, believe it or not, is favored by 3.5 points. I would have had probably Maryland there. If you're going to put bets, maybe put Maryland there. I don't gamble, though. 7:30 p.m. on Fox, Northwestern at number 21. That's changed the ranking. What is Illinois now, if they're ranked? I think Illinois is not ranked anymore. I think they lost they lost their ranking. So, forget what I told you about, I said number 7 Oregon's pretty still relevant. Some of these rankings have changed, but yeah, Northwestern at Illinois, and Illinois is favored by 7. 7:30 p.m. on NBC. UCLA versus number 19 USC, and USC favored by 21.5 points there. Was actually pulling for USC to beat Oregon this past weekend, shake up the playoff picture there, and of course the Big Ten picture for who is going to go to the Big Ten championship. Because if Ohio State hopefully wins this weekend, they will definitely go to the Big Ten championship game. But for the West, most likely Oregon, but it would be up in the air there. So yes, number 2 Indiana would not go in the situation because they're in the same side of the conference as Ohio State. So that's just it's crazy how it works, but that's how it works. Top 25 games to watch out. That is not Ohio State versus Team Up North this weekend. Friday, November 20th, watch out for number 4 Georgia at number 16 Georgia Tech. 7:30 p.m. on ABC, watch out for number 3 Texas A&M versus number 17 Texas. That's going to be a good one. Georgia and Texas A&M are favored in those matchups, by the way. Other ones to watch out for looking into Saturday. One that would be fun. We'll see. I know their coach has been fired, but 3:30 p.m. on ABC, LSU at number 8 Oklahoma. I'm just imagining because of 2 big schools, it could be a fun one. Rumor has it LSU did submit Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin an offer, and he's to decide after the season, so we'll see. It's 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. Watch out for number 14 Vanderbilt, number 20 Tennessee, a good SEC matchup right there. Of course, this one, of course, one of the top rival games in the nation. 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 10 Bama at Auburn, and Auburn's burned them before in situations like this, so just watch out. Another underrated rivalry here. 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. Watch out for number 9 Notre Dame at Stanford. Notre Dame's heavily favored in this one, but both teams cannot stand each other. So, but again, cross out your M's because that's that week. Ohio State versus Team Up North, and they'll be at Ann Arbor there this year. NFL. Yes, NFL for Week 13. Again, as I am broadcasting this, I do not know the results for the Monday night game 8 on ESPN between the Carolina Panthers and San Francisco 49ers. First time Christian McCaffrey has played his old team since being traded to San Francisco, so that's going to be interesting. But I did pick San Francisco in that. I think Bob picked Carolina, but don't quote me. I did have a bad picking day yesterday. I mean, yesterday was pretty rough overall, so we'll see. Week 13, we have games Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday this week. No bye weeks. Everybody is going to play. And I'm going to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. We always, when we see the schedule come out in May and get all excited, we always don't know if some of these primetime matchups are going to be legit or not. It's very hit or miss. This Thursday's game, since they started doing 3 games on Thanksgiving, okay, this has to be the best trio of games they've had. We're looking for good games this Thanksgiving. So get your turkey ready, get some stuffing and cranberry sauce on that plate, get some rolls, get you your favorite beverage, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever you get, and enjoy yourself because we're looking at some good football this week. So here's my predictions. We'll start off Thursday, Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day. Sit down together, united, be thankful. And 1 p.m. on Fox, Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. Detroit favored by 2.5 points. Okay, this one's going to be tough. It's at Detroit. I'm going to take Detroit by 3. I think this game's going to go neck and neck all game. Detroit has not always been relevant since they've hosted Thanksgiving games years ago. Detroit's playing very well. Green Bay's playing very well. It's going to be neck to neck. Rumor has it Eminem's going to do the halftime show. Kid that grew up out of Detroit, so that's going to be a fun halftime show for the fans there. The atmosphere is just going to be right for Detroit. I'm going to have them edge them out here, but I think both teams are going out at each other's throat. 4:30 p.m. CBS and Paramount Plus. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Dallas Cowboys. Chiefs favored by 3.5 points. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs by 10. And I think it's going to be close up until the fourth quarter. Kansas City's going to break out. Dallas has not played horrible this year. I think people did think they were going to play a little bit better. Of course, losing Micah Parsons was going to hurt the defense. But here's the thing: is Kansas City, they're not a perfect team. They're not the team that the media has made them out to me, has made it out to be the past couple of years. But they're still very good. They're still favored in the AFC West. They're playing very well. They had a good game against the Colts yesterday. The Cowboys can turn up at any time in this game too. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City here. But I think again, I can't stress. I think this is going to be a fun game until the fourth quarter. You're going to see Kansas City make a couple big plays, break loose, and that will be all she wrote there. 8:20 p.m. on NBC, and I've told not personally, but I've said before, I say again, you want a good third game on Thanksgiving, have an AFC North rivalry matchup. My Brownies don't have to be involved, but if they are, that'd be cool, because I'd like to have watch the Browns on Thanksgiving one time. Yes, call me crazy. I would like to see it one time at least, but that will not happen this year. This Thursday, at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, Cincinnati Bengals at Baltimore Ravens. Joe Burrow has been announced to return to the Bengals for this game. Baltimore favored by 7. While Baltimore's won 5 in a row, Lamar Jackson has not played very well. These have been his worst stretch of games in his entire career. Even when he was a rookie, he's done better than this. I am going to go with Baltimore by 3. I think it's going to be closer. I think Burrow, it's going to take him a minute, but he'll get back into rhythm and things will start looking better for him as the game goes on. But I think with these two teams here going head-to-head, they don't like each other. And I think Lamar will step it up at some point in this game and lead a game-winning drive. Bengals defense is ranked one of the worst, if not the worst in the league, but they always still find a way to stay in the game. But again, I can't stress Lamar has not played very well. But give me Baltimore by 3 here. And I think, again, I'm telling you, these trio games this Thursday is going to be a good one. I will be so disappointed if one of them ends up in a blowout. And it could happen. You never know. Any given, I guess in this case, Thanksgiving Thursday. Friday, November 28th, Black Friday, 3 p.m., Amazon Network. Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles favored by 7 here. I am going, Bears beat the Steelers yesterday, kept up with them. Dallas did beat Philly yesterday. Okay. They edged them out there. Philly's not going to lose 2 in a row like that. Give me the Eagles. I'll say 7 is fair. I think the Bears will hang in there, though, and that's going to be a good Friday game for you on Amazon Network. Sunday, November 30th, 1 p.m. on CBS. San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. 49ers favored by 6.5 points. Shadir Sanders' second start of the season. I think this game could be a solid game here. Just no matter how good Shadir does, I got San Francisco winning by 13. I'm sold on the Niners with Brock Purdy coming back too. I think they're going to even look even better. Brandon Ayuk is still trying to come back from injury, but the defense has overall been solid. Even despite their injuries, offense has still moved the ball down the field well this season. And while Cleveland's defense is very, very good with the rookie quarterback in there versus an experienced defense, we'll see what happens. But the last time San Francisco was in Cleveland, San Francisco lost by 3, and they lost to P.J. Walker. And so it is possible Shadur could find the upset here, but I am going to take San Francisco to win this game here. I think it's going to be a little tougher one for the Brownies there. Prove me wrong, though. I want to be proved wrong. I like to be proved wrong, Browns. And especially in football situations that I want my way. 1 p.m. on Fox, Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. Rams coming off a victory against a big victory on Sunday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. Carolina, we don't know the result of the game. Rams favored by 10. Give me Rams by 20. I do think they're going to take over this. They're just more experienced. Panthers are playing very well. This is going to be a test for the Panthers, but I think Rams are just going to take over and win this game by a good margin. 1 p.m. on CBS, you have the Houston Texans coming off an upset win against the Bills versus the Indianapolis Colts, who are coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs here. Colts, this is, again, 1 p.m. on CBS. Colts favored by 4.5 points. Give me Indianapolis. Give me Indianapolis by 10 points here. I just think they're the better team in this case, and I think they want to bounce back into the win category after taking that loss against the Chiefs there. 1 p.m. on Fox, you have the New Orleans Saints at the Miami Dolphins. Both teams had bye week this past week. Actually, no, I take that back. Saints lost to the Falcons yesterday. Miami had the bye week there. Miami's favored by 6. Give me Miami by 17 on this one, and I think they're the better team here. I just think this is one of the matchups where they can get their passing game going well, and it's going to be a game where their defense plays better than normal, and it's a feel-good defense day too. I just think Miami's going to run away with this one. Give me them by 17 here. 1 p.m. on Fox, Atlanta Falcons coming off a win against the New Orleans Saints, and they'll be at the Jets, who are coming off a loss against the Ravens. They did not play terrible, though. Tyrod Taylor under center. Give me the Kirk Cousins and Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins will be the starter for the rest of the year as long as he stays healthy. Penix had to have surgery, and he will be done for this year. So you're going in with 2 veteran backups going up against each other. Atlanta's only favored by 2.5, but give me Atlanta by 6 there, but I think that will be an underrated game for this week. 1 p.m. on Fox, Arizona Cardinals coming off a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in overtime, and they're playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are coming off a bad loss against the Rams on Sunday night. Baker Mayfield is expected to play. He sprained a joint in his non-throwing shoulder, but he's banged up. He'll go up against Jacoby Brissett, who replaced Baker after he moved on from the Browns in Cleveland there. Give me Tampa Bay by 3, regardless who plays under center. But I think they'll just edge out. Teddy Bridgewater did not look great last night, I'll tell you that much. On Sunday night, again, he wasn't prepared to play the game necessarily, but at the same time, it was it was a rough one for him. But give me Tampa Bay by 3. 1 p.m. on CBS. I do have to hurry up here. We only got so much time. Jacksonville Jaguars at Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville favored by 6.5 points. Give me Jacksonville. They're playing much better this year. They're in the playoff conversation, and Tennessee it's tough watching them. It really, really is. I had a friend last night compare them to the early 2000s Browns. That's not a compliment. You don't want to be that. It's probably because I compared Cam Ward to Tim Couch. There is a similarity there. Give me Jacksonville, and I think they're going to win by 13 at least. 4:05 p.m. on Fox. Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle's favored by 10.5 points. They already said J.J. McCarthy in concussion protocol, unlikely to play, and with Wentz out for pretty much the season, they're going to look for it might be. Oh no, they gave up on him. I almost said that former Commanders quarterback they had, but they had him and they cut him since then. So you're looking at a third string replacement here for Minnesota. Give me Seattle. I think they're going to run away with this one. Give me Seattle by 17 in that one. Seattle, that defense there against a backup quarterback, I think it's just going to go Seattle's way. 4:25 p.m. on CBS. Las Vegas Raiders coming off a loss against the Cleveland Browns. Go against the Los Angeles Chargers here. Chargers favored by 9.5 points. Give me the Chargers. Raiders are a mess. Give me Chargers by 20. I said 20. I think they're going to roll. 4:25 p.m. on CBS. Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. But both teams coming off upset losses. Give me Buffalo's favored by 3.5 points. Give me Buffalo by 10. Regardless who goes under center for Pittsburgh. I know Mason Rudolph started this past weekend. But Buffalo, I just think is the better team there. I know Pittsburgh will give them fits at first being at home. but just Buffalo's going to bounce back after that bad loss to Houston. 8:20 p.m. on NBC. Waiting all day for a Sunday night. Denver Broncos at the Washington Commanders. Broncos favored by 6.5 points. I don't know who's going to be under center for the Commanders. Most likely Marcus Mariota with that injury Daniels is dealing with. Regardless who's under center, give me Denver. And give me Denver by, I'll say 16 points. I just think solid defense here. Once the offense gets rolling, put some points on the board, they're going to start feeling better. The defense will play more shut down. It just happens. Broncos offense is inconsistent. So when they do start putting points on the board, the defense gets more confidence, and they start playing even better than what they are. Denver's defense is solid, but I'm going to take Denver in this one. And Monday, December 1st, I don't know who picked this matchup up, especially after last year. 8:15 p.m. on ESPN, New York Giants at the New England Patriots. Patriots favored by 7.5 points. I think it's going to be more. Now, Giants did play very well with Jameis Winston yesterday. I will give them credit for that. Actually, let me see. Yeah, they almost won. They lost by 7 and overtime to Detroit. Give me New England, though. I love the way New England's playing. I like what Mike Vrabel's doing there. Give me New England by 17. I just think they'll outplay the Giants' defense there. Giants' defense is going through some ups and downs this year. And Winston, he played well this past game, so he might play bad the next one. He's that inconsistent. So, and I think against this Patriots defense and how well they played the Bengals yesterday, just do not rule out a couple turnovers there from Jameis Winston in that game. But I got New England winning that one there. So that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. When we come back next week, we will talk about the Ohio State game. We didn't get around to basketball there. We'll talk about basketball next week. We're just out of time, but both Ohio State and Akron won all their games this past week in basketball. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Zips Soccer. Shout out to them. They beat Notre Dame at home this past week, and they're going to host Duke in Akron for the tournament. So shout out to them, and that'll be this Sunday. They will do that. So Akron Soccer still in the big tournament. And again, big schools coming to Akron to play. That's always a big deal for the university here. So we'll talk about the Browns. We'll talk about the Cavs. Any Guardians offseason moves there. There wasn't anything really this past week, but you never know. The winter meetings are around the corner, and things will start to heat up in baseball offseason as well. So we'll talk about all that and more. Until then, you guys have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Have a good Black Friday. Black Friday's calmed down since over the years, so I don't have to have the anxiety of worrying if people are going to trample each other for gifts. It's more internet based now, so that's the one plus side. So find some good deals for yourself, save some money if that's your thing, and be safe out there. And until then, guys, go Browns, go Zips, go Cavs, go Buckeyes. Let's end that streak and bring the rivalry W's back to Columbus. Here, I want to see it. Let's have a perfect season. Let's defend the title. Come on, Buckeyes. And it starts this Saturday in Ann Arbor. Looking very forward to it. So you guys be safe. Have a good one. And we will see you in December.